Joined now by the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Senator Dick Durbin. Senator Durbin, thank you for joining us this morning. You're going to be in charge, of course, of this confirmation hearing for whoever the president nominates. Lay out your timeline for when these hearings could happen, when the president's pick could be confirmed.
George, we'll be ready from a staff viewpoint and logistic viewpoint, but the decision really starts with the president, and as it should. When he chooses a nominee and sends it to the Senate, then we're off and running. And that nominee and the background of the nominee in terms of whether they've been before the committee, how recently they were there, and how much information we can bring together quickly will decide the timeline.
You saw that poll, a number of Americans questioning the president limiting the possible nominees to a black woman. He's also faced some criticism from Republicans. Nikki Haley, I want to show her tweet, would be nice if President Biden chose a Supreme Court nominee who is best qualified without a race, gender litmus test. That's what I did when I picked Tim Scott as Senator of South Carolina. Senator Roger Wicker has called it an affirmative action quota pick. How do you respond?
I remind them to take a look back at history and recall that it was Ronald Reagan who announced that he was going to appoint a woman to the Supreme Court, and he did, Sandra Day O'Connor, and it was Donald Trump who announced that he was going to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg with a woman nominee as well. So this is not the first time that a president has signaled what they're looking for in a nominee. And I would just say the bottom line is this in terms of African-American women. If they have achieved the level of success in practice of law and in jurisprudence, they've done it against great odds. They're extraordinary people. Usually the first of anything in the United States turns out to be extraordinary in their background, and the same is true there. They're all going to face the same close scrutiny. This is a lifetime appointment to the highest court in the land, and I just hope that those who are critical of the president's selection aren't doing it for personal reasons.
You've also got some Republican senators like Chuck Grassley, Tim Scott suggesting that because the Senate is so closely divided, because the country is so closely divided, the president should take care to pick a moderate who reflects the entire country, who reflects that close division in the Senate.
Well, I could just tell you, George, and you remember this, it was Mitch McConnell who decided that he would eliminate the filibuster on Supreme Court nominees. And for those who aren't following the Senate procedure that closely, it meant that it used to take 60 votes. McConnell said, no, let's make it a majority. And that meant that the selection process was more partisan than it had been in the past. But I'm still hopeful. I know that Susan Collins is a guest on your show this morning. I've spoken to her. I'm reaching out to the Republicans and saying the nominee will be available for you to get to know them. We're going to make sure we have answers to any questions you might have. It's going to be a deliberate process, but we're not going to get bogged down. Amy Coney Barrett broke all the records in terms of nomination to approval in the Senate. We want to make sure that we have a timely nomination that's handled in a responsible, professional way.
The president, of course, is going to consult with you as well as your former colleague in the Senate. He was also chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I want to show a list of the possible contenders that have been discussed by the White House and others. Ketanji Brown Jackson, D.C. Court of Appeals, Leandra Kruger of the California Supreme Court, Leslie Abrams Gardner, U.S. District Court of Georgia, also J. Michelle Childs, the U.S. District Court of South Carolina, of course, is a favorite of Congressman Clyburn. Do you have a favorite, and what have you told the president?
Well, Ron Klain called me this last week when the word was being spread around about Stephen Breyer's decision, and I asked him, I said, how close is the president to choosing a nominee? And he said he's going to go through the process carefully, and he has not made his mind up at that point a few days ago. I'm going to trust his judgment on this. I don't want to put the finger on the scale for any one of the nominees. I think there's some extraordinary talent there. And going back to the point I made earlier, for these African-American women to have reached the level of success that they have reached, they are extraordinary people. They've been put to the test. They are the first in many instances of their race and gender to be in this position. So that extraordinary talent, I think, should be taken into consideration on a favorable side.
I also want to ask you about reform of the Electoral College Act and the possibilities for bipartisan reform there. You said you've talked to Susan Collins about the president's nominee for the Supreme Court. What about Electoral College Act reform? What's possible this year? Can it be bipartisan?
Yes, it can be. I think it should be. There is an effort, Susan is part of an effort to take a look at it with a bipartisan group. And I've joined with Amy Klobuchar and Angus King on the Democratic side. I think we're talking about the same basic challenges, and we want to make sure the Electoral College is valid. And, of course, we had the disclosure this last week of the January 6th committee in the House looking into false slates of electors that were being selected in 7 or 8 states in the last election, the last presidential election. You know, it really raises a question about the integrity of that process. It hasn't been looked at for 150 years. Now's the time.
And also, finally, how about on Build Back Better? Is it dead right now? Is it dormant? What can happen before the midterms?
I don't want to give up on it. There are so many important things there for families across America. You talked about some of the polling data that's coming back. Take a look at basic issues. Making sure that we negotiate on the price of prescription drugs, overwhelmingly popular, Democrats and Republicans. If we can achieve that, that's really a step forward. Helping families pay for daycare so that the folks can go to work with peace of mind that their kids are in good hands. These issues, and many like them, are part of Build Back Better. Let's find the things that really make the biggest difference, and let's move them as quickly as we can. I don't want to drag this process out, and I'm sure most of the American people want to see it come to a positive conclusion.
Have you had any signs from Senators Manchin or Sinema that they're willing to do that?
Well, I can't say that I personally have, but I will tell you, they were arguing on the floor when we consider the rules on voting rights that we can be productive and bipartisan even in the world of filibuster. Now, my challenge to them is prove that we can, on reconciliation, at least on the Democratic side, come to a positive conclusion that moves us forward as a nation. We've debated it long enough. We know all the theories. Let's get something done.
Senator Durbin, thanks very much for your time this morning.
Thanks, George.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.